Hey, welcome ladies and gentlemen to the video on how to play the concert E flat, A flat, and F scales for trumpet. This is Mr. Songer with you. And for this video, we're going to be using your Accent on Achievement book, page 37. So if you could open up to page 37, that would be wonderful. We've already learned how to play the concert B flat scale, and just a couple words about scales. Scales are a series of notes that start on any given note and go up, basically in alphabetical order or one line in space at a time, till you get an octave above that note. So if you start on low C, you'd end up on high C, like your B flat concert scale. And then you usually come back down. And then in this book, you also have at the end of the scale chords, where if you play it together with the band, you'll create chords, which is two or more notes played at the same time. Now, for the scales, there are 12 different major scales, and there's one for every possible note on your instrument. So you can start on any of the 12 notes. We've already learned your C major scale, or concert B flat major, and we're now going to learn three more, the next three on page 37. And we're going to start with your G major scale and chords, also known as your concert F scale. And we're going to play it right out of the book as written, including that repeat that goes back to the beginning. One interesting thing on this scale, as well as the next one, is the notes start going up, but then they come back down, because if we kept going up, we go out of the range that most of you can play in. In other words, it goes too high. So this scale would typically go all the way from low G up to the way high G. But instead, when you get up to C, they're going to drop back down to a lower D, so you don't have to go all the way up to that high G. All right? So here we go. Let's try it together. 1, 2, 3. And that's your G major scale. Now, another thing I should have pointed out on that is there's one sharp in your key signature. You have an F sharp, so that note in the bottom space should be second valve. And your B, the third note of the scale, should also be second valve. Every one of those 12 major scales I just mentioned has its own unique key signature. In other words, a different number of flats or sharps at the beginning of the song. For example, we're going to do the next one, which is your F major scale, concert E flat, and in your key signature, you have one flat. So when you get to the first note of the scale is going to be F, first valve, not second valve this time. And then when you get to the fourth note, that will be B flat, first valve. Notice once again that it drops down when you get to the fifth note, but it actually gives you the option of dropping down. You can keep going up high. I'm going to attempt to keep going up high. If you'd like to attempt it with me, that'd be great. And I'll just tell you the fingerings. Once you get to that C, the second note of the second measure, which is open, you all know that. The next high note is D, first valve, then E, open, and then the high note is F, first valve. There's a little pattern that gets going on there in the second measure, where starting on the B flat, the second measure, first note, it goes first valve, open, first valve, open, first valve. And then you come back down and it continues with that pattern. One open, until you get to the A. All right, let's try it together. F major scale and chords. 1, 2, 3. And we got one more, your B flat major scale and chords, concert A flat. This key signature has two flats. So the first note there is B flat, first valve. The fourth note is E flat, 2 and 3, not 1 and 2, 2 and 3. And then the top note of the scale, beginning of the third measure, that's also a B flat first valve, not second. All right, here we go. B flat major scale and chords. 1, 2, 3. And there you go, everybody. Those are your E flat, F, and A flat concert major scales for trumpet.